Hi, this is Adam from Northexis, a boutique consultancy specializing in improving your budgeting, forecasting, and reporting. And today we'll take a look at how we do that in Vena Solutions. As you'll see, Vena is a cloud FP&A platform with the core differentiator that it provides all the value of a dedicated planning tool, a centralized database, process workflows, security, auditability. But unlike most tools on the market, it lets you use Excel as the window into your data with all the power and flexibility that you already know. And we'll start with Vena Insights, which is Power BI embedded into Vena. All the power of Power BI, but it natively understands your Vena data and all your security. And this is the Vena Foundation dashboard, which is pre-configured to give you a jump start, but you can use all of the immense power of Power BI with functionality like decomposition trees, waterfall charts, which you can hover on to get more detail. Any other source of charting, visualization, predictive analytics, anomaly detection, smart narrative. It's all immediately available. These pre-configured dashboards are very much just a starting point, and you can create whatever you need. But all this data is stored in Vena CubeFlex, which creates a model of your data. Now, this is just an example. These dimensions here, of course, whatever your business needs, financial, non-financial, can be imported from the GL or CRM or whatever system automatically or input in directly. And these, of course, would be your chart of accounts, your entity structure. And notice that we can have alternate hierarchies for viewing and reporting on data, but also for modeling your data in different ways. And if we jump into scenario, we're going to create a new one, specifically a what if scenario. And all I need to do is create a sibling and call it what if 4. And that's all you need to do. Now, if I want to populate it, of course, I can make it a copy to destination. Maybe I'm going to copy from the budget, and maybe I want to filter so we're only copying from our London entity, or by project, by product, whatever you need, super quick. Now we'll take a look at a process or workflow. And here's a great illustration of the platform approach of Vena. There's lots of other things you could be doing: reconciliations, statutory consolidation, tax provisioning, any spreadsheet process. But for now, we're going to take a look at the 2024 annual plan. And as you see, process flow, covering balance sheet and cash flow planning, expenses, CapEx, revenue, anything you need. And a process is made up of tasks, each of which gets users and templates and connects to the other tasks to make a flow. Make sure everything is getting done in the right order. It is a true process flow with dependencies. And to be a real workflow, of course, you need reviews and approvals. For example, here, setting our rates and drivers, we go forward to a review step. If the reviewer isn't happy, they can reject it. We'll follow that red line back. If it's approved, off we go forward in green. And you simply click and drag to connect these tasks together. Your workflow will reflect your actual real needs in a process, rather than forcing you to do what your software wants. And if I open up expense planning, you'll see it actually has sub-processes. Each department or cost center has its own little workflow. And here in London, I can see London's tasks. And if I double click on expense planning, I can see everything a real process task needs. An assigned due date relative to the overall process in this case, the owners of the tasks, anyone helping out, anyone having read-only access. We can have instructions, supporting documentation, all the info they need to get on with the task at hand. And of course, a number of templates attached to each task. And these templates live in Vena in the cloud. And as you'll see, the contributors use Excel to open them up to interact with the CubeFlex data model. Critically, expense planning is assigned to these 7 departments, but we only ever have one of any template to manage and maintain, and they can all use it at once. Now, there's a lot of tasks going on here. So we have a real-time status tracker, which will show us what's done, what's overdue. No more chasing up to see where things are. While we're here, Vena can send out any number of notifications that you like, reminders, tagging people into conversations to alert them, bursting out links to your classic Excel report packs. And in the process audit, I can see every step that a process has gone through, who submitted it, who approved it, rejected it, all tracked. In fact, as we'll see, data changes are tracked too. Pretty much everything is audit logged in Vena. And if I have a quick peek at the financial close process, we can see an example of a totally different process. Obviously, each one will reflect your genuine requirements. Now we'll cross to the Contributor tab, which is what most of your users will see. Here I'm a cost center manager. It's my to-do list. And in this case, I'm going to open up my expense planning. Again, the instructions, the supporting documents from the contributor side, and the templates that I need to contribute. And when I open up my operating expenses, this is where the Excel element kicks in. And it's your normal native Excel. But then it will pop up what we call a choose box. It will only show me the things that I've got security access for. And in my scenarios, if I look at my what if, you'll see there's my what if for already. Templates always reflect structural changes automatically. And before I make those changes, notice behind the choose box, there aren't any numbers. No numbers are stored in Excel files. They always live in Vena CubeFlex. Excel is just the lens or the window into the data. The numbers only exist once, even if they're in multiple reports or templates. And now we're ready to go. The Vena 365 pane on the right lets me communicate with Vena. The really important thing here is the look and feel. Everything you see, the fonts, the color, the formatting, the charts. It's all what you already know in Excel with all the depth and the flexibility of Excel. So you can tailor things to look just the way you want. Vena doesn't force you into an inflexible front end. It also means that you can take your existing templates and put them into Vena if you wish. You can have them look exactly the same to help your users pick it up straight away. And as you'll see in a moment, the formula language is also just the Excel formula language. So even if those existing templates are full of calculations, they'll work in exactly the same way in Vena. And perhaps here I might just do some keying in for 90K, but I can do things like my Excel Control-C, Control-V. I can do a simple formula. I'm going to just divide that one by 2. I'm going to click it, drag to fill. All these things that you already know how to do in Excel. In fact, all the incredible functionality of Excel, pivot tables, the analyze data feature, Microsoft Copilot, it all just works in all of your Vena templates. And I can take a very specific driver-based approach. If I look at this drop down here, we can see a bunch of drivers, totally up to you what these are. In my case, I'm going to do waiting on prior year, and maybe we'll amend that to 60,000. And there's a bottom-up approach, of course, where you can do top-down, set things centrally, whatever you need. And if I click into one of these periods, we see a normal Excel formula. But we'll leave that one on input for now. And perhaps I'm done. I'm going to save my data to Vena now. Or not quite. Because what you see here is Vena's data validation, a huge feature for checking data before it's saved to the database. In my case, as you see per the comment, if I increase anything more than 20% year on year, I have to put in a comment or it won't let me save. Well, this is actually a soft check. It will still let me save, but you can set a hard validation where they simply cannot save the data if they don't meet whatever condition you want. And while the validation is a Vena feature, again, the actual validation condition, it's just Excel, an Excel true or false formula that you set to whatever you want. Maybe you don't want demand to exceed supply, you don't want something to happen without commentary, that sort of thing. In my case, I will continue and save, and that data is immediately consolidated, currency converted, all within Vena CubeFlex. And we've created an audit trail. So if I open my data inspection options here and drill saves, I can see at a cell level what's been changed from what to what, who changed it, and when. Because there's a template with multiple tabs, sometimes cell by cell won't cut it. So instead, the audit trail feature will let me open up another copy of the file, highlighting all of the changes I made at a particular save. And if I click into each cell, it will show me the details for that particular cell. And you can see we can input commentary, which will flow to our report packs in Excel and PowerPoint. But I might need more detail. Maybe I need to explain these numbers or build them up as the end user. And one of the huge benefits of an Excel process is that end users can add their own calculations, the detail that makes sense for them. In web-based planning tools, that additional detail is typically just not possible. So the users are forced to do that in Excel anyway, and it starts to defeat the purpose of a shiny planning tool. Not with Vena, because we're natively in Excel. Individual users can insert tabs. I've got one here called Scratchpad, and these workings are entirely up to me. They make sense to me as the budget holder. And I might want to link, for example, this number in advertising to this number here with the formula. I can do that. But the tab will be saved as well, and it is specific to this view, in this case, London sales. And the other departments might have their own things, but anyone reviewing will have access to that tab or tabs to see the workings. And this is a very popular feature because you can combine a very controlled and specific template, but allow the flexibility of Excel to serve where it's needed. Now, another very common way to add detail in your typical Excel process might be to add lines. Perhaps we'll right-click and insert a line, and that's often our formulas break and everything is ruined. Notice I can't use that insert functionality here, but we can add detail just in a controlled Vena way. If I look at my data input, I can add line item details. Click on that twice, and I can plan by, say, vendor 1 and vendor 2. Again, specific to London sales, I can key in values, and again, automatically an Excel formula consolidating them. I simply can't break the template. And of course, there's another way. If I look at my legal fees, it's of course linking to another tab, as we've all done before. And if I pop into vendors, we can see that I'm breaking that line into further detail using that line item details functionality. I can add more rows over here, but here you can see more detail than in the other slice of the template. I've got a drop down of vendors, whatever it is that you need, different methods, different detail for different areas of the business. In terms of the actuals, if I expand that out here, we can see we're complete through October. Can't change those, of course. I try and do so, it won't let me. If we have a look at this January figure, I might want to understand where has that number actually come from. And I can use the drill transactions option because we're not just loading in TB level data, we're loading in transactional data from our source systems. And immediately I see an Excel table with my actuals in, the ability to filter, the ability to sort. Or perhaps we'll select the whole thing, use the analyze data feature, learn more about the data. And we already know we can insert other tabs. So maybe I think, oh, that's a bit of an interesting chart here. Let's insert the pivot chart, start messing around with the pivot table in different ways. Again, all the power and depth of Excel immediately available. I see a number, I drill, I do further analysis. And when we do finalize November, we load the data, we can set completed period to November once, and all of our templates will roll forward. We don't have to amend all the templates. We make the roll forward change centrally. It's all done. This is a monthly process, but if you want to do weekly, daily, hourly, and hospitality, whatever it is you need. One more thing, we read comments. We saw the comments here in line, but perhaps we might want to talk more collaboratively with other Vena users. And to do that, we have the comments feature in the Vena pane. It'll tell us if there are any other conversations happening about a number. Well, there is. We click on that one, highlights the number, shows us the conversation. Let's see the full conversation. We see that audit trail, Frank tagging in Betty. And maybe actually I want to tag in Ari and ask a question of some description. I can attach a file. And when I hit send, Ari will get an email telling him that there's a conversation he needs to look at. And the conversation is all stored in Vena. But back now to Vena on the web. Let's take a look at workforce planning this time. A very different template, of course. Instead of accounts on the rows, we're looking at the employees, but still all stored in Vena CubeFlex. You can have different columns, existing employees, planning for new ones, any transfers into our department. And this is a simple view to make it simple for budget holders. But for those who want it, there's tons of different information here. If I expand out total salary, you can see a global pay increase assumption with the ability to override it on a line level, but always fully audit log. Or perhaps I just key in a new actual amount. And if we expand out other compensation, we see things like bonuses, commissions, other cost elements like national insurance here in the UK. And in payroll summary, we can see the P&L impacts, the non-financial statistics, some analysis of joiners and leavers. And it's all just an example. This is by individual employee. You can do groups or individual headcount categories as well. Now, there's plenty of other examples here. If we have a look at perhaps direct cash flow, this is an example where we're going to set minimum cash alerts in different months, the quick ratio, the debt to equity ratio. And here we have our cash summary straight away, opening cash, cash in, cash out, and we can see all the detail that makes this up. The opex plan, capex, workforce, transactional detail in AR and AP, where we can play around with payment terms. If they go bankrupt, for example, you can see the impact. And of course, the debt side. Or a revenue example. I open up my product revenue plan. Again, we have the choose box where we can have one template, same goes for reports, where I can look at product groups all the way down to SKUs. I could do channels, I could do individual customers. And when this template opens, we've got a dashboard with key insights. We can look at our bill of materials, then by product or SKU, build up the costs, and then the revenue input, similarly to what we saw in OPEX, driver-based in whatever way makes sense for you. And finally, our summary tab with units, revenue, COGS, gross margin. All these templates are using the Vena standard formatting, but one of the important things about Vena is that all the formatting is up to you. So I just took the OPEX template and made a slightly different version with the Northexis branding and a chart, and a slightly different way of keying in things, just to illustrate the point that it's going to be unique to you, what your business needs, and what your users find useful. And we'll finish up the demo with some more standard type reporting, because we saw Vena Insights and the dashboards, but we'll always need our classic report packs. And you'll see here, I've got a reporting task with a bunch of read-only reports. Again, you can take those existing reports you've got, bring them straight into Vena. I'm going to look at the executive dashboard with our choose box again. One report can give us the consolidated level, but also more granular level and all of those alternate roll-ups. And all of these visualizations are just your standard Excel. So super quick and easy to create the reporting and any sort of charting that you want. And in this variance tab, I can do my comparisons. Choose different scenarios. We look in here, see there's that what if for again. What I'm going to do, I'm going to, in my budget, go to January 2024, and refresh the data here, because that's what we were looking at before. We can scroll down, see all the detail down below. And here's the advertising line that we were working on. And here we're looking at a consolidated level. So I can use my drill down feature, and that will show me every single line that builds into that consolidated number. Again, an Excel table that I can filter, sort, whatever I need. And in this case, I'm just going to focus in on London. Okay, and there's that 90K figure that we changed. But let's say we didn't know that. We'll go into drill saves. See those changes, and if I click on download details, it brings me up a copy of that exact template. So everything is interconnected and very easy to bring up when you want to see the details. Or perhaps I want to do ad hoc reporting. And with our ad hoc reporting, anyone can easily drag and drop a report based on their security. As you'll see, very similar to the pivot table capability of Excel. And perhaps I'm going to put my accounts in rows. And let's say we'll do net income and the descendants. And perhaps we'll take period and put that in column. We want to have just the bottom level with the months. So we're going to skip those quarterly roll-ups and refresh. And straight away, we're starting to build a report. Or perhaps I'm going to nest dimensions. Maybe I'll bring in the scenarios. I've got my actuals already selected. Perhaps I want to bring in the budget as well. That's all well and good, but I think I got the order wrong. So we'll just flip around those columns. And off we go, very quick and easy. And because it's just Excel, we can use the Excel sharing functionality to send this over to whoever needs it in Excel attachment or PDF. Or maybe we don't start from scratch. Maybe we let the AI do it. That's where Vena Copilot can start to come in. With Vena Copilot, I can ask natural language questions about my data. Maybe something simple like, analyze my travel costs in 23. And Vena Copilot uses the exact same technology as Microsoft's Copilot. But unlike Microsoft's Copilot that only sees the data in a given Excel workbook, Vena's Copilot sees and understands your entire data model. And it's been trained as an FP&A AI. It understands the terms you need to use. Takes your question, relates it to all the data model concepts. What scenario, what entity, what account, time periods. In fact, I don't even need to be in Vena to interact with Copilot. I can do it within Teams, and it can jumpstart my ad hoc reporting. Perhaps, can I get a report with a breakdown of my revenue by entity for 2023? And I'll percolate on that for a few seconds. And when it's done, I have two options. I can download the report and open it up in Excel, and then it will be a Vena-enabled ad hoc report like the one that we built from scratch, but I don't even need to leave Teams. I can open it up here. And I've got the options in the ad hoc reporting to keep on pivoting. Maybe we're going to add in scenario as we did before, and let's add in the budget and refresh the data, and we can, of course, carry on from there. It's an AI that actually solves a huge time sink for finance. All those questions every day can be answered super quickly. And one final thing to look at is reporting into PowerPoint from Vena, which essentially enables you to automate the creation of your PowerPoint report packs rather than spending hours updating them manually. And here we have native PowerPoint. And my Vena app has before with Vena reports in it. And if I click into, for example, the PowerPoint source, I can see all the charts and commentary and so on in this particular report. And I can decide which ones I want in my slide deck. And I'm going to add in a slide. Just get rid of these title boxes. And maybe I want to bring in, yeah, that income statement will do. Move it around. I can resize it. And perhaps I'll add in this one as well. And when I'm done, I can save it back to the Vena template. But the key thing is that once we've built this, I can go to the choose box, and just like with Vena Excel, I can choose what year in this case, what entity, depending on what you're doing, what scenario, and it will just update the PowerPoint for me. Makes it extremely quick and extremely easy. Of course, there's a lot more that I could show you. Thank you for watching the demo today. If you'd like to discuss your requirements, if you have any questions or you'd like to know more, please just drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you.